How's it going, everyone? I hope you guys are having a great day. As today, we're going to talk about the next potential snowstorms that could move through the Northeast as well as the Northern Midwest. So let's first begin by taking a look at the GFS model. So we do have this trough moving through. So we've been talking about this over the past few videos regarding this trough, and I did say the catalyst that will determine the track of this trough and see whether or not we'll see a significant snowstorm for the Northeast is this first trough right here, which, by the way, should bring a large area of 3 to 6 inches of snowfall to the interior Northeast, the higher elevations of Pennsylvania, as well as northern New England. So definitely keep that in mind, but it's mainly going to be a rain event for the coastal cities. However, this trough I was saying would be key because depending on how much cold air it brings further southward and how strong this storm system is, that would determine the position of the jet stream, which would in turn position this low pressure system to a point where it can move further southward, tap in to more of that warmer Gulf Stream water and really intensify into a major winter storm. And while this storm system does move pretty far south to the point where it could tap into a lot of the instability, the new problem, if you're hoping for snowfall in the Northeast, is that it doesn't seem like the ridge just to the east of this trough will be strong enough to force the storm system to move east enough to bring the heavy precipitation right up along the coast. The cold air there's enough cold air for a significant winter storm to happen in the Northeast right around the Saturday, December 21st timeframe. But the thing is that this ridge just to the east of it, it's a little bit too far to the east. So there isn't really anything, or there isn't really a strong southeasterly push that would push the slow pressure system a little bit closer to the coast to bring that heavier precipitation right up along the coast. So as a result, we see the Northeast misses out on the heaviest of the snowfall, where we clearly see New England is just outside the area where this storm system is producing heavy snowfall. And we do see the storm system become quite powerful as well. It's just a little bit too far to the east. Now, you're probably wondering the possibility that of whether or not this storm system could be able to move a little bit further westward, and if we could see the ridge end up a little bit stronger. While that's a possibility and weather is very unpredictable, we're now approaching the 11th hour when it comes to regarding how much uncertainty there could be for that possibility to exist for this storm system to take a scenario where it brings a heavy snowfall right up along the coast, where this is around 3 to 4 days out. So there isn't a lot of time for the forecast models to really shift their forecast. And right around that time period, when we're talking about a forecast that's around 3 to 4 days out, that's when the forecast definitely becomes more certain. If this were, let's say, 7 days out, then you definitely could make a much better case that there's still a possibility this storm system could move a lot further westward. However, when we're talking about forecasts that's only around 3 to 4 days out, that window becomes much smaller for uncertainty. And it seems like the computer models, both the GFS and the European model, are very persistent on this idea that the heaviest of the snowfall will stay just off the coast. However, that doesn't spare the Northeast from experiencing any snowfall because, like I said, we're still going to see a clipper system that's going to bring a decent amount of snowfall to much of the Midwest. You could expect, especially in this area of the Midwest, in North Dakota, Minnesota, as well as Wisconsin, you could expect mostly 3 to 6 inches of snowfall, which is definitely enough to cause havoc on the roadways as well as make driving conditions more difficult in those areas. So you definitely want to be aware of that as trough continues to head further westward. However, this trough is expected to weaken because, like I said, there isn't going to be necessarily a strong ridge right next to it that would enhance the instability. It will eventually strengthen, but it's going to be a little bit too far off the coast to where that heavy snowfall would impact the Northeast. But we still do see the effects of this clipper system in the GFS model scenario, where we do see mostly light to moderate snow over northern Pennsylvania, southern upstate New York, even northern New Jersey gets involved with some light snowfall, as this would primarily just bring a large area of maybe around an inch or two of snowfall. Definitely not probably not the major winter storm that you'd be hoping for if you want to see potentially a white Christmas or just a big snowstorm in general. But it still does bring at least a little bit of snowfall to portions of the mid-Atlantic, more specifically right around upstate New York, New Jersey, as well as Pennsylvania. Could there still be the possibility the storm system moves westward? I think there is a possibility, but it's looking less likely at this point, as, like I said, that window of uncertainty is certainly closing, and it's getting more and more slim that we're going to see a major shift when it comes to the computer model's forecast at this point. However, that's not the only snowstorm we're paying close attention to. We also have another potential winter storm that could impact the Northeast, and this could happen on Christmas Day, which could bring your first white Christmas for a lot of these areas in a very long time. We see that it's going to start from a small upper level trough that's moving through, that's fairly weak for the most part, but it should weaken this ridging just enough for a little bit of instability to develop. And just with this instability, we do have a small ridge that's trying to build right here that should enhance the precipitation a little bit. And then we do see a pretty large area of moderate snowfall for much of northern Pennsylvania, southern upstate New York, northern New Jersey, even New York City gets involved, Connecticut, and even Massachusetts could get involved with this. But before it eventually does change over to rain, because we are going to see this ridge we are going to see the southerly winds be a little bit too strong. Now, this forecast definitely has a lot more uncertainty because we're going around 200 hours out, so a lot could change between now and the Christmas time frame. Let's take a look at what the 500 millibar height anomalies are stating at this point, because it gives a better idea of what factors we need to pay close attention to. So there's a trough that would bring the snowstorm to the Northeast. So if we were to continue to move forward, there's that small trough moving through, and we see just a ton of ridging, and the ridging is just a little bit too strong for the possibility of snowfall to be more likely. We're going to need to see this upper level low be a little bit stronger as it moves further eastward, because that way it would weaken the ridging, which would weaken the southerly winds that would be just to the east of this storm system. But at the same time, it would still bring just enough instability to where to where this storm system would be able to produce more precipitation. So we would need to see this storm system become a little bit stronger before we can confidently say that this will bring a heavier amount of snowfall over a larger area. However, the European model is showing a fairly similar forecast regarding the track, but it's taking an even weaker scenario. So a quick look at the European model scenario at this point. So let's go to 12Z run, because that goes a little bit more into the long-term future. We see that this storm system does develop in a very similar fashion. We have a small upper level low moving through that does enhance the instability just a little bit, but it's even weaker. So we see almost the snowfall non-existent for the Northeast, as it's and for the areas further southward, it's primarily a rain event, because like I said, the ridging is just a little bit too strong. So the key thing will be the strength of this low pressure system by the time this approaches the United States. So we won't get a good idea of this until probably this coming weekend, once this small upper level low eventually moves ashore, because that way we'll get a good indication of how strong this trough will actually be. So we're definitely going to pay close attention to that over the next few days. However, let's say both the GFS and the European model were completely correct when it comes to their snowfall forecast. So taking a look at the GFS model scenario, so let's take a look at a total positive snow depth change, because this is more accurate than using the ratio that assumes 1 inch of rainfall equates to 10 inches of snow, because every snowstorm is different. Not every time the ratio is exactly 1 inch of snow of rain produces 10 inches of snow. So it's more accurate to take a look at this, and we clearly see that this does, so we see that this first snowstorm mainly brings an area of mostly 3 to 6 inches of snowfall to upstate New York and the interior portions of the Northeast. That would happen right around the Wednesday timeframe, so keep in mind with that. But then the second snowstorm, that's where we could maybe see an inch of snowfall from this Clipper system. Again, there could still be that possibility that maybe the storm system could move east enough to bring that heavy snowfall, as it would be more likely in New England at this point, but it's looking less likely. So for the most part, from this second Clipper system that should move through right around the Friday time frame, expect mainly an area of 1 to 2 inches of snowfall throughout Pennsylvania, southern upstate New York, northern New Jersey, and I'll say a dusting should be expected for southern New England at this time when it comes to this Clipper system, at least based on what the GFS model is stating. However, this snowstorm that could happen on Christmas Day, that's where it does become more uncertain, but the GFS model is taking the more aggressive approach, easily taking 3 to 6 inches of snowfall for northern Pennsylvania, even taking 1 to 3 inches for northern New Jersey, 3 to 6 inches for southern upstate New York, and there's localized areas in the northern Pennsylvania where you could experience over 6 inches of snow, and even New England gets involved with right around 1 to 3 inches of snowfall. So it's definitely something we're going to need to keep tabs on over the next few days. Really depends, like I said, on the strength of this low pressure system by the time we approach the Christmas time frame. So in terms of the European models forecast, so for this one, we gotta use 1 inch of snow equates to